Hello, the Pioneer viewers. I'm here again with the new part of our daily map report. I hope you're healthy and well. Today, we will examine the Russia-Ukraine war in the details, front by front. As you know, the intensity is on the Kherson front line and the Donetsk front line. In these two regions, fierce and intense clashes continue uninterruptedly. In some areas, there are new gains by the Ukrainian army. Unfortunately, these gains do not change the current situation. Before moving on to our map report, I would like to ask you 3 questions. I will share your answers to these questions with you in our upcoming videos. How do you think this war will take shape? What does the Ukrainian army need to regain its lost momentum? What other topics would you like the Pioneer team to cover in their content? I'm waiting for your answers to these questions. Let's take a look at the latest situations on the Donetsk front line. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to your screens. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel as not to miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the video. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. We begin with the latest developments on the Kherson front line. Russian armed forces were very active on the Kherson front line today. In particular, Russian troops supported by Russian artillery carried out attacks against the Ukrainian armed forces in the direction of Krynki. As you know, there are Ukrainian Marines in this area. These Marines, consisting of highly trained soldiers, managed to repel Russian attacks. We can say that the intense attacks, especially at the points of the Delta islets, were quite violent, but it was a great success for the Ukrainian Marines to repel the attacks despite all this violence. We have already shared with you many reports on the situation of the Delta islets in the region. In this region, the defending side was largely disadvantaged. Therefore, the Russian army lost the Delta islets to a great extent. The Ukrainian armed forces took control of the Delta islets in this region and established a defense line further east. Therefore, we don't expect the Ukrainian army forces to suffer any losses in this region in the short term. Although there are fierce clashes in the region, the Ukrainian armed forces still maintain their advantageous positions. We believe that we will see more Ukrainian gains in this region in the coming days. Reports from Russian sources also support this belief. Let's talk about artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Ukrainian armed forces positions in Kherson, Antoniivka, Nikolskoye, Lviv, and Kozhovnoye. Nikolskoye here should be not confused with the Nikolskoye in the Wuhldar sector of the Zaporizhia front line. It should also be noted that these areas are targeted by short-range artillery of the Russian army. Russian artillery support is still insufficient. Artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted positions of the Russian armed forces in Ola Pristan, Aleshki, Poima, Pechenivka, Podstepnoye, Kasakhkamsk, and Krasnunka. Let's continue our daily map reports by examining the latest developments in the Robotny section of the Zaporizhia front line. As you know, we have stated in our previous reports, we announced that the calm in the region would soon change and intensity would begin. And we were right. We were right in this claim. According to the latest reports, the mobility in the Robotny section of the Zaporizhia front line has increased considerably. Artillery units of the Russian armed forces launched an attack on Ukrainian positions in the western part of the village of Robotny. Following these attacks, Russian infantry units also mobilized. There are reports that Russian troops have captured some positions in several areas. The Ukrainian armed forces carried out similar actions in the direction of Verbov. According to the latest reports, Ukrainian artillery units carried out intensive attacks in the direction of Verbov. It is reported that there were disruptions in the Russian positions during these attacks. However, there is no confirmed information so far. It is also reported that infantry units of the Ukrainian armed forces also carried out attacks in this region. It is a bit difficult to get information from this region. We experienced this problem during periods of increased intensity on the Zaporizhia front line. Let's talk about artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Kamenskoye, Shishbryanka, Novodanilovka, Malaya Tokmakcha, Charovny, Goliapol, and Poltavkala. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted positions of the Russian armed forces in Kopany, Novoprokopivka, Novopokrovka, and Novofedorovka. Let us continue our report by analyzing the latest developments on the Donetsk front line. According to the latest reports, on the Donetsk front line, the Russian armed forces with artillery support conducted offensive operations near Novomikhailovka, Marinka, near the town of Krasnogorovka, Permonskoye, in the industrial zone on the southeastern outskirts of Avdiivka and near Stepnoye. Among these areas, it is possible to speak of the slight Russian advance behind the railway line in the direction of Stepnoye. We also see that the Russian armed forces carried out offensive operations near Severnoye. We believe that the purpose of the attacks of the Russian armed forces here is to suppress the activities of the Ukrainian armed forces near these Lakhivs. There are new offensives of the Ukrainian armed forces in this area. It is rumored that thanks to these reinforcements, Ukrainian troops in the area have strengthened and increased their offensives. However, both visual and verbal confirmation has not yet been obtained. Let's talk about artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces shelled positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Pobeda, Gorogoyivka, Novelskoye, Nataliovka, Orechetin, Shukhavka-Belka, New York, and Torskov. Artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces responded by targeting positions under the control of the Russian armed forces in Alexandrovka, Starmelukhovka, Donetsk, and the village of Krasnogorovka and Hrolivka. Let's also mention the Bakhmut front line. According to the latest reports, the Russian armed forces launched an offensive against Klishchivka in the southern part of the Bakhmut front line. However, we often point out, using the advantage of the dominant hills in this area, Ukrainian troops repelled the attacks of the Russian army. Let us also state the following. The attacks of the Russian army were also directed against these dominant hills. In order to break the Ukrainian defense in this region, these dominant hills must be captured. This is not an easy task. There are also reports that the Ukrainian troops have lost some positions north of the Bakhmut front line. However, since we have not yet been able to confirm this, we don't find it appropriate to share it. Yet we did. If we can confirm this information, we will convey it to you in our future reports. So, what do you think? Do you think the Ukrainian army will be able to advance on the Kherson front line? What do you think about the latest situation on the Bakhmut front line? How do you think the situation will take shape on the Donetsk front line? Let me know in the comments. I read and care about all your comments.